right, welcome back to our second in-person interview of What's Up Carmel. Today we are interviewing Chief Haboush in the Carmel Fire Department, and we are absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, so as you guys know, he's the chief of the fire department. He's been working for the fire department for nearly 30 years, correct?
Yep.
All right, so we're just gonna start it off right here.
Yeah.
Can you tell us where you grew up and what were some of your hobbies in high school?
Sure. I grew up on the east side of Indianapolis. I'm east side. I went to Thomas Carr Howe High School. I graduated a really long time ago compared to you guys, but when I was in high school, I was involved in student government. I played football, wrestled, a little bit of baseball, and I was kind of I was a social person, and I hung around athletes, band members, student council people, and just anybody that'd say hello. So grew up in a little area called, it's a historic area on the east side called Irvington. So Irvington on the east side of Indy.
All right, well, thank you. And we were kind of wondering, as the chief of the Carmel Fire Department, what are some of your day-to-day responsibilities?
Sure. First and foremost, to make sure that our firefighters are safe and healthy, and to make sure that we meet the needs of the community. Obviously, we do EMS runs, we do fire runs, extrication, hazardous materials, water rescue, so on and so forth. And so most of those are pretty obvious, but our firefighter health and safety is number one. The big picture for me is making sure that we meet the needs of the community,
right.
And so we do that through responding on runs. We also are very intentional about taking a proactive role, trying
right.
to enhance the quality of life here that people enjoy in Carmel, Indiana. So we do that by partnering with some nonprofits throughout the community to just really enhance the quality of life. The firefighters and the fire administration and our elected officials want to make sure that we bring value to our community.
Right.
And so and then when you dig down a little deeper, I'm involved with the budget, just kind of oversee, I guess I would be remiss if I didn't say this. I am blessed to be able to lead this organization. There's 171 firefighters that work for the Carmel Fire Department. We've got a staff of between part-time and full-time civilians of another 14 people. And so our elected officials really support public safety and what we're doing. Yeah. So without them and the taxpayers in our community, we wouldn't be able to provide the services. So very blessed in that sense.
And I wanted to ask a quick follow-up. We know that you mentioned being very involved in the community, and we've seen the Carmel Fire Department everywhere. We're kind of wondering, what has been your recent initiative with the Meals on Wheels program?
Well, they're a great community partner with us. As far as Meals on Wheels, Beth Gelhausen does a great job with her entire group. If you're not familiar with that program, they take shut-ins and people who may not be able to get a warm, nutritious meal, and they deliver them throughout Hamilton County. And so anything that the department can do to help promote that, we do. Recently, I think maybe what you're talking about is there was a video that was just produced here recently.
I did just see that, yes.
Yep. So they're a close, valued partner of the Carmel Fire Department, and we work great and closely with them. And again, their mission to be able to take care of people, meet their needs where they are is exactly, it aligns perfectly with the fire department. We try to meet people's needs and be able to help them stay in their homes as long as they can and really enhance their quality of life. So the two organizations meet up very, very well.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Well, on a different note, we saw that you, when you were going through college, you worked at a factory.
Yeah, I did.
After the factory life and going through college, you entered into the business realm for, I think it was a couple years. And so what turned you away from the business realm, and wanted you to get back into helping the community?
When I was young, maybe your age, how about that? I thought that I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I wanted to go into business. And I was through college. My folks helped me, and but I had to pay for some of it on my own, and so I worked lots of part-time jobs. As you mentioned, I ended up in a factory. That was a great incentive for me. I just felt like I had a different purpose in my life than working there.
Yeah.
And so it was a scenario where I literally was going to IUPUI. I did go to IU for a year. My senior year, I packed up and I went to Bloomington, Indiana, and I lived in a dorm. And I was able to experience college the way that most people do, and it was a great year, and I really enjoyed it. But so I came back, lots of summer school, graduated. I was still working in the factory, and I knew that I thought that I wanted to be a corporate sales rep.
Yeah.
And so I literally worked third shift, got off work one day, went home, shower, shaved, came back in a suit, and went to the front desk. The receptionist said, "Do I know you? You look familiar." And I said, "Well, I work in the factory and back." And so she did recognize me. I left my resume, so it just worked out that there was an opening there. And so I became a sales rep because I knew the product better than anybody in the office. It should have been a natural fit. And I just looked around, and it was not. It's not what I thought it was going to be.
Sure.
At least in the place where I worked at the time, I am a team-oriented person,
Yeah.
and I enjoy being part of something greater than just myself.
Yeah.
And so it didn't necessarily align with the company's philosophy where I was working.
Sure.
And so I just thought that there's something more meaningful for me to do with my life. And so I started looking around a little bit, and just one thing led to another, and some doors opened, and I applied in the fire service, and I would have taken a job anywhere in the fire service for all those reasons. It's team oriented.
Yeah.
It's about the greater good. It's not about specifically me.
Yeah.
But I was blessed that I applied in Carmel, Indiana, and I was hired back in January of 1992.
Yes.
I know that was a long time ago. and I've just continued to be blessed working for this community and for the city of Carmel. They're a phenomenal employer. I just had some opportunities, and they gave me some opportunities to continue to get to grow and develop and to continue my education through the fire department. And so one day, about 6.5 years ago, I became the fire chief. And so I love working in this community. I love living here, and it just continues to get better and better.
Well, I have to say, reading that story it's inspirational. It really is. I really enjoyed it personally. I know Trevor did as well. So.
Thank you.
And I'm just curious, how long does, from signing up to be in the fire program to actually becoming a firefighter, how long is that school or recruitment or initiation, whatever you guys
I tell people, because most people apply for a job and they put the application in, and then within a week or two they normally get called for an interview, and if the interview goes well, maybe another week or two, and then you start working. So to get a normal job, non-public safety, normally 2 to 4 weeks typically. Well, I explain to people that are interested in getting into public safety that it is a marathon, not a sprint. And so what does all that mean? It means that it is a long process with lots of steps. And so every 2 years we have a hiring process. The first part of that, I guess, you fill out a pre-application. The pre-application, the next step is to take a written test. You take the written test. There is an oral interview. After the oral interview, and there are literally hundreds and hundreds of people that are applying. So it takes a long time to get through each of these steps. After that, if someone is selected, there's a very thorough background that's done on each person, because typically most police and firefighters, once they start their career, the minimum that most people work is 20 years. The most senior member on our department he is finishing his 40th year.
Wow.
Yeah. So that is Captain Joe Butts. He's been a long time dedicated employee to the city of Carmel. He's a phenomenal employee that we have, and he continues to mentor the young people and set a great example. So the shortest the process would take, there's lots of other steps involved, but to actually get into recruit school, it normally takes, on the quick end, is about 6 months. For that process to take place, and it could take up to a year and a half, depending on when the actual recruit school takes place.
Sure.
So that's why I describe the hiring process as a marathon and not a sprint.
Right.
after you get hired by the Carmel Fire Department, we do our own recruit academy, and that lasts anywhere between 5 to 5.5 months. That the recruit firefighter is in class, and lots of hands-on, a lot of muscle memory.
Yeah.
And so, but we typically, because of retirements and because the department's getting a little older, we typically hire once a year, and we put everybody through the same recruit class. And so, so that's just a really quick overview of the hiring process.
Yeah.
Well, I think I got a pretty good understanding.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask, what are some of the difficulties of being a firefighter and the fire chief, the chief of the fire department?
Yep. So I am a sworn member. So I guess just from that standpoint, I'm a merit captain.
Mm-hmm.
So prior to becoming the fire chief, I was riding on Engine 342, which is on the southwest part of our community,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'd respond on runs, and then the mayor appointed me as fire chief. So so the difference is that I guess the big difference is I used to work a 24-hour shift. So
wow.
so if you think about it, the 24-hour shifts, that would be like a typical person going to work for 3 days in a row, 3 8-hour days.
Yeah.
And so the firefighters work 24 hours, and so I came off of a 24-hour shift, and then I started working Monday through Friday.
Okay.
And typically, the day is 8 to 4:30 or 5, and the fire chief's days are add a couple extra hours there, and then some phone calls in the evenings. But we've got lots of great people in the organization,
Sure.
so they do a good job of helping to run the organization.
Yeah.
And so, the biggest deal is that as a sworn member of the department, I still meet the same physical requirements and the same educational requirements as everybody else does. And so we do a work performance evaluation every year. I'll put all my gear on, air pack, I'll put mask and helmet, and then we go through 10 different stations that simulate fireground activity. And so it's a timed activity, and so everybody on the department does that once a year. So that's an example of some of the minimum requirements. All the firefighters also have to do 120 hours of educational requirements every 2 years, and that's to remain a state certified emergency medical technician.
Yeah.
So that's the minimum, and then about 1/3 of the department is a paramedic. So those are additional hours on top of all that. And so literally all the firefighters that work for the Carmel Fire Department are putting in hundreds of hours of training each and every year. So that's in addition to responding on runs and doing other things throughout the community. So those are just a couple things, but yeah.
A couple of things.
Just a couple things.
Wow.
Yeah.
So after being at the job for nearly 30 years, what have been some of your motives to keep going forward?
This community continues to advance and grow and develop. And when I came to Carmel 30 years ago, I knew where Carmel was, and it was a nice suburb of the city of Indianapolis. And while it was nice back then, it was a shell of what it has become. And with the mayor's leadership, as well as the city council members and Clay Township and the trustee and the Clay Township board have invested a lot in our community. So all of our elected officials have really continued to model great behavior and make this a world-class city to live and work. Yeah. And so in the fire department, we continue the same mantra. And, we're always looking for ways to continue to get better. One of the big things that happened to our department here a few years back is we became an accredited fire agency. And so the accreditation process is very difficult. It is very long. It is very tedious. But what it is that we compare ourselves to what our potential could be. So rather than comparing ourselves to another fire department in Indiana or in Ohio or in California or Florida, we talk about what we've done historically, what we're currently doing now, and then we set goals for ourselves on how we could continue to advance and become better. And through that accreditation model, it actually has bled over to the culture of the fire department. And so I tell people that we're intentionally different. Some people will assume that is good or bad, and depending on your perspective, maybe it's right. But I tell them that we're intentionally different, and the reason that we're intentionally different is that we always strive to do a little more, to get a little better, and continue to grow and develop in all that we do. And so that mantra has helped, and we just want to reflect what a thriving, beautiful, well thought out community looks like, and so we want to model that same thing within the Carmel Fire Department.
So that perfectly segues into one of our next questions. What are some of the future goals that the fire department has?
Sure. We're going to continue to be an accredited fire agency, and just to give you some perspective on that, in the world there are only 238 as of last year.
Wow.
There are 238 accredited fire service agencies.
And Carmel's one of them.
And Carmel's one of them, exactly. And again, that's a testament to the phenomenal people that we have working here for the Carmel Fire Department. And so future goals that we have with working with city leadership here, at some point in time there will be another fire station going up in the next few years out on the northwest side of our community. As the community continues to grow, so does public safety. So the way that the fire department grows is through a new fire station. And so the city, the forefathers here were very proactive, and they actually secured land out on the northwest side, just off of Main Street, where Station 47 eventually will go up. There will be additional equipment that comes with providing services at that out of that new fire station. There'll be additional new firefighters that continue to get hired to be able to staff the equipment and provide services. One thing that we're doing that's really exciting is that we've got lots of different programs inside of each of the divisions. Again, we strive to continuous improvement and to continue to get better in the community. We have an EMS duty officer that is in the 2022 budget. And the EMS duty officer will be called EDO 304, and that means it's just a short acronym for EMS. The D is for duty, and then the O is for officer.
Okay.
And so that'll be an extra paramedic that responds on runs. It'll be an extra set of hands. If it's a big event or something, they will become the EMS supervisor on runs. And so the goal is to have one on each of the 3 shifts, but we're fortunate, and we do have one staffing position that will start the program full-time in January of 2022. So we're excited about that, and again, with this accreditation model, we ask ourselves what we could be as opposed to we're good enough. If we continue to strive to get better, then absolutely. So
great.
Thank you. So,
I got a
please.
quick follow-up.
Please.
So you guys, you said 3 shifts, so are they just 8-hour shifts then?
Initially, we're going to spread that one position out over the 3 shifts. We will not do it in 8-hour increments, but we'll do it in 24-hour increments. And so the way we do that is that we'll spread it out over A shift, B shift, and C shift. And so while I say that it's one full-time position, we'll continue to have that program grow. And one of the things that probably a huge difference between 2021 and 1992 when I got hired is that we continue to capture data sets on runs. And so part of it is being able to prove what we say. I mean, I can tell you that we're a great, phenomenal, professional fire department, but when we dig down into the analytics and the data, we can actually prove what we're saying as opposed to it just being an opinion or a belief. So initially we'll start the program. One day they'll work on A shift, and then a day or 2 later they'll work on B shift. A day or 2 later they'll work on C shift. And so the program will continue to grow. So great question.
You said 3 shifts. I was like, 8 hours.
24.
No,
24 hours.
24 hours.
Yeah, that does sound easy.
Exactly. Great question.
Well, we know in 30 years you have to have some stories for us. So
I've got a few.
Can you elaborate on some experiences that you've had that have stuck out?
Sure. I guess I'll go back to maybe my first serious run, first serious fire after I came out of recruit school. So I started in January of 92. So this is June, July of 1992, and down where the current CVS on Rangeline and Medical on Rangeline Road, just south of Carmel Drive. It sits on the east side of the road. In that location, just about a half block east, was a daycare center.
Yeah.
It was called La Petite, and it was a preschool. It was a Friday evening, 5:30, and there was a fire that broke out inside the ceiling of this building. A plumber was there sweating pipes, and the pipe got too hot and caused a fire. And so fortunately, the last child had left about 10 minutes before the fire started. Yep, very fortunate there. And so we had just learned how to do trench cuts on a flat roof. Mm-hmm. And so this is it's a business, so the construction's a little different from a residence. It was a commercial building. And so we went up. There were 3 groups of 2 that went up on the roof. And so there was so much smoke that we were having a hard time getting the chainsaw started. And then the commander on the scene ordered everybody out of the building and ordered everybody off the roof. So I was the 5th person to climb the ladder to go to the roof. I was the 5th person to come down the ladder. I held the ladder for the last person. And as that person walked away, I let go of the ladder and I took 2 steps, and then I heard the roof collapse. Wow. And so it was a great call. And for the first time, I realized in my fire service career that this was not training and that there were no backup lines.
Yeah.
And I looked across the street because there's an apartment complex down there, and because it was a Friday night, after work, there were literally hundreds of people down there watching this fire.
Oh my gosh!
And so it was just a reality check for me that how dangerous the job can be.
Yeah.
Because we've got great, talented people here, and they were older, much more experienced people than me. They made the right call, and so our safety measures that we build into our system worked. And so I'm still here today, and so that was a great learning experience. I guess one of the more recent events is Carmel High School. A couple years ago, the Christmas season, late December, actually caught on fire. And credit to the school administration, they had scheduled for the work to be done over the holiday break.
Sure.
And so they had a plumber in there, and they were working on some gas lines in the building.
Yeah.
And so there was an explosion in the building.
Yeah.
And so I'm at home, and I get an alert on my phone that the Carmel High School is on fire. And sure enough, Carmel High School was on fire. So that was probably the quickest trip from my home to Carmel High School that I've ever had.
Yeah.
And I get there, and I just to be completely honest and very transparent, I was nervous when I looked up and I saw that the actual roof on the high school was indeed on fire.
Yeah.
And our firefighters did a phenomenal job on that scene. They were able to contain it. I do want to give credit to the high school students that were inside.
Sure.
They helped the younger kids and the adults that were inside through the Dad's Club evacuate the building. The Dad's Club kids that were in the building did a great job helping to direct people that weren't familiar with the building, being able to get out of the building. If you're not familiar with what actually happened in there,
it's a perfect timing.
That
is awesome.
One of the stairwells actually collapsed in the building, so it limited access to be able to get out. It was a miracle that no one died. Again, credit to Carmel Clay School Administration, credit to Carmel Dad's Club, credit to the kids that were inside that building, and to Dad's Club coaches and the parents that were inside there. Literally, everyone left the building, and fortunately, there were 2 people that I say fortunately, it was very fortunate. There were only 2 people that were injured in there, and they were both workers that were in there, and to the best of my knowledge, they both made a full recovery. So again, it's a tragedy that the event happened, and with everything, the goal is to learn from them and get better and to ensure that never happens again. But it was, and the high school is back together again. I do understand it's under renovation, but for other reasons now. So all positive stuff.
Yes,
so,
all positive.
Which is really crazy because I had basketball practice that morning, and I was on the freshman team at the time. And the freshman basketball team was located right underneath the boiler, which was right underneath that staircase that collapsed.
Wow.
So if we were there 2 hours later,
exactly.
I don't think it'd be the same story as it is today.
Yeah.
Well, it turned out to be a huge success, and I'm glad you're here with me to be able to join in this afternoon, Trevor.
Yes. On a completely side note,
Yeah.
we had this question earlier, but how do you drive the back of those ladder trucks?
The tiller truck?
Yeah, do you have to
came
go
on,
the
I was
other way?
curious, too.
We were so curious.
So we're very fortunate here in Carmel. We actually have 2. And there's only maybe 3 or 4 of that unique apparatus in the state of Indiana.
Yeah.
And so people will say, oh, hey, you've got these tillers because they're cool. Well, yeah, they are cool, but there's a very specific reason that we choose that type of aerial device. Some people call them ladders. And so the main reason is they are incredibly maneuverable.
Yeah.
For the very reason, Matt, that you just brought up. There's actually 2 drivers on that truck. There's a person in the front, and that truck actually pulls the rest of the aerial apparatus throughout the city. The person in the back is also an engineer, and so what they're doing is that the only thing that engineer has is a steering wheel. There's no gas, there's no brake pedal, and they do have a headset, so they're in constant communication with the person driving the front of the truck. So in tandem, they drive that truck throughout our community. They are actually much more maneuverable, even though the truck is longer than a regular aerial truck. That truck is much more maneuverable because the engineer in the back can actually swing. And so back to your specific question about how they drive it. First of all, very carefully. Second of all, if they're turning left, that person in the back actually steers right. So it's just the opposite.
Wow. So going home, after work, and you're sitting there trying to figure it out. Okay, hold on, I gotta go that way now. A couple other advantages is that truck can actually go into a typical cul-de-sac, and the truck does not have to stop. They don't have to make a 3-point turn. Yeah.
They can actually maneuver through a typical cul-de-sac without stopping.
Yeah, which is that is amazing.
And then a great advantage is there's more space, storage space on that truck than there's a traditional truck, so we can carry more equipment. An interesting thing that we do, and I'm going to give a plug for roundabouts because everybody always asks, are the roundabouts difficult for the fire trucks? Are they difficult for that big ladder truck?
Yeah.
And I'll simply say, no, they are not. Roundabouts work. I was here before we had any, and we used to run 2 heavy rescues. A heavy rescue literally carries personnel, it carries firefighters, and it carries tools.
Okay.
It's a big toolbox. And so the tools that everybody is familiar with are the jaws of life, which cut people out of cars. And so the roundabouts have cut down on serious injury accidents in our community. The Carmel in 1992 was about a third of the population that it is now.
Yeah.
So if you think about it in terms of safety, there should be 3 times the number of drivers today, right?
Yeah.
The rate of serious automobile being injured seriously in an automobile accident is actually less today than it was in 1992 when I started. And so we do carry the jaws of life. We carry them on the ladder truck because we have more manpower there, and so we can do heavy extrication. We can extricate people. We still provide the services, but because of the roundabouts, we've been able to reallocate the manpower, the firefighters to different apparatus, and still to be able to provide those services in our community. So it was a win-win for everybody. For the fire department, for the firefighters, as well as the people that live and work in our community and the taxpayers. So it was a great win.
Well, I personally have no further questions, Trevor.
I actually do have one.
Okay.
So I'm going to backtrack a little bit. When you were telling that story, you guys were using the chainsaws, couldn't get them started.
Yeah.
You guys don't use gas-powered or just like electric?
No, gas-powered chainsaws.
Wow.
The jaws of life now, they've actually converted over, and they're much more compact, and so now those are battery operated, as are most of the tools. But when it comes to the chainsaws or even a big K12 saw, if you see somebody cutting into like concrete, and it looks like a big circular saw, that's the K12 saw. And then a traditional chainsaw has got the bar on it, and so all of those are operated off of gasoline. But we have converted over on a lot of the other tools to battery.
So I was just like thinking like that with all that heat going on, mixing gas, so that is, heat and gas don't mix.
Well, we typically don't take it. We don't take the tools inside the fire.
Yeah.
Okay. So most of the time, if you ever see somebody using a saw, it's on the outside of a
Yeah.
building.
Yeah.
And so, but the saws make quick work of the roofs. It makes quick work of doors. We'll use saws on if there's a garage door. And let's say there's a fire in a garage.
Yeah.
And so there's a very specific pattern in which we can cut where the door will actually stay in place, but we can create a flap in there so the firefighters can get in, and it goes really, really quickly to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So, but safety is our number one priority, both firefighter safety as well as the safety of our community. So.
Well, after that, I have no further questions.
Yeah. I just want to say, thank you so much.
Oh,
Chief Haboush. Thank you so
absolutely.
much.
Pleasure meeting you, Matt.
Thank you.
Pleasure meeting you,
Yeah,
Trevor.
thank you so much.
guys. Appreciate it.
And thank you for joining us on our second episode, in-person episode of What's Up Carmel. Thank you so much.
Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment on who you want to see next. Thank you.
All right, thank you.